Hey, movie maniacs. My name is Sky, and that dude on the other side of the screen is my brother Dusty. Dusty, what is going on?
Not much, buddy. How are you? I'm doing really well and super excited to be doing these old Schwarzenegger movies.
Yeah, totally. That little thing that you were holding up on the YouTube screen right there, it looked like a little rake. What would your stalker name be? The Raker?
Oh, that's a great idea. So no, this is just a fun thing that I like to hit my kids with. It's actually a back
Ah.
scratcher. It extends. So I do
Oh,
that. It's
cool.
just at my desk and I put it down and because if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it's really cool. It extends and just scratches my back. But I have a question for you, dude.
Hmm.
What would your stalker weapon or not necessarily power because it's not power, but like what would your stalker weapon be? Because we have electricity with dynamo, and then you also have buzzsaw, then you have SubZero, and you have Captain Freedom. What would your special weapon be?
I think it would be a mace, and you could call me the Mutilator. That's what I would be.
Nice, the mutilator. So you would literally take a mace and bash their head in, and like
A
Negan
spiked, yes,
from
a spiked mace, though. Yes, like Negan.
The
Yeah.
Walking Dead. Nice.
Yep.
And
Yeah. What would yours be?
you'd have a special bonding relationship with your mace. You'd call it something like Denise or something like that, right?
Yep,
So
for sure.
you guys wouldn't know this, but Denise is his wife's name, and that's what Negan,
Yep.
and you have to kind of follow The Walking Dead.
Hmm.
But I have a special power. So fire's really cool. Electricity is another really cool one. Buzzsaw is not really elemental, but they're using a lot of elements. I would be Dust Man. I would be throwing, because my name's Dusty. I'll be throwing dust everywhere. So much dust that it would be choking you. It would be so bad in all the dust.
Gotcha. Yep. Everybody needs their COVID-19 mask when they're handling when they're being chased by dust. What was your name again?
Exactly.
Dust? The
Dust
Duster?
Man.
Oh, Dust Man. Gotcha.
Dust Buster is pretty good, but I think Dust Man.
Dust Buster. For sure. All right, everybody. So if you haven't guessed or if you didn't look at the show title, we're going to be talking about The Running Man, the classic Arnold Schwarzenegger action movie. We absolutely loved it when we were growing up. And of course, spoiler alert, right? You had to have seen the movie before you listen to us. You're not going to get nearly as much fun or enjoyment out of this podcast or the YouTube video if you're watching on YouTube if you haven't already seen the movie. And just for a quick little refresher, here is the trailer that you can watch if you're watching us on YouTube, just to get you prepared for me and Dusty's conversation about The Running Man.
In the year 2017, an innocent man accused of a crime has a choice: hard time or prime time.
Sensational. Perfect contestant. I want him.
He must pay or play the running man.
On your mark.
I'll be back.
Go!
The highest rated TV show in history.
Guess they want us to stay.
It's a game between life and death. Give you a lift? Arnold Schwarzenegger is the running man. He's playing for a prize. The prize is his life.
How about the lights?
All right, Dust. So, just speaking about the trailer real quick, you and I really do not like trailers just in general. We don't watch them, but because we've seen this movie, we go back and we watch the trailer. And you know it's going to happen, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger is fighting bad guys. He's going to end up killing them all. But right at the very end of the trailer, you see Jim Brown. You don't know that he's like got fire gas thing, but Arnold Schwarzenegger or what's his name? Richards.
Richard.
Says need a light and throws a thing at him and he covers his face and it's obvious he's going to die. So you kind of see ahead of time how one of the stalkers is going to die. And that's why I hate trailers. I never watch them because those brief little glimpses into the movie, they kind of ruin things for you. And if you're a big Jim Brown fan, you're going to see him in the movie and oh, he's going to die at some point.
I'm not going to watch that. Jim Brown dies.
Yeah.
I don't like it when Jim Brown dies. I agree. And you're absolutely right. So it was probably right around, I want to say when the first Avengers came out, you told me, hey, you know what I don't do anymore? I said, no, what's that? Because before Watch and Learn podcasts and all that sort of stuff, like we were just talking because we always love talking about movies and everything we watch. And you said, I don't watch trailers anymore. I said, what? That's so stupid. That is like so awesome watching the trailers. And I made fun of you. You said, dude, just try it, especially a movie that you really know you're going to watch. And I said, okay, I'll do it. And I want to say it was for the Avengers, like either the first one or the one they faced Ultron, one of the two. And I didn't watch it, the trailer, I mean, and then I watched the movie. 9 day, totally. I'm definitely won over. Never ever watching trailers unless it's a movie. I'm like, yeah, I probably don't want to watch it. I'll watch the trailer to see if that makes me want to watch it. But if I know I'm going to watch a movie, I never watch a trailer because it spoils so much stuff. Even if it doesn't, it still gives away way too much.
It does, for sure. There was a recent movie called Guns Akimbo, starring Daniel Radcliffe, action movie, guns firing stuff. That's all I had to hear. I saw the movie poster of him holding two guns, all beat up face, Daniel Radcliffe shooting guns at bad guys. I didn't need the trailer, so I watched the movie. Now, I didn't really enjoy the movie. It was okay. I don't know, but watching the trailer ahead of time, I still would have gone to see the movie, and I still would have felt probably about the same about it, But if the actor's in it, if the idea of it appeals to you, skip the trailer, like we said.
Absolutely. And so all the movies now, we don't. And what's great though is going back and watching the trailers again and being able to pick things out. So I really remember The Running Man. I'm definitely nostalgic of all these 80s movies because growing up, I mean, shoot, you had so many of these Arnold Schwarzenegger type movies, and 90s was more Jean-Claude Van Damme, right? Little, early 90s. But we had Sylvester Stallone, but you have these big actors and Bruce Willis. But I just love how Arnold Schwarzenegger really stuck with his catchphrases that he always had. And from Commando, he had a few little quips or a few little like, hey, what happened to Sully? I let him go, which he literally let him go, but he died and all that sort of stuff. Same thing inside The Running Man. Very, very similar where, oh, what happened to Buzzsaw? Oh, he had to split. It's like making up really like dad jokes. Really, really fun. So I really like watching back and watching these movies again. What do you think?
I feel the exact same way. Movies nowadays, they don't seem to really put those quotes or those awesome phrases in them. Not as much anymore as they used to. And that's one thing. I felt totally nostalgic watching this. This came out in 1987, I think. I was 10, you were 8, and I guarantee we saw this right away on VHS. And I've seen it probably at least 20 times from, growing up and on, owned the VHS back in the day as well. Absolutely love this movie. Feel nostalgic the whole time. And just thoroughly enjoyed it. Once again, like there's nothing to dislike about this movie unless you're like not an 80s action fan. I can understand if you don't like those kinds of movies, you're not going to like this one, But if you're into any kind of action, and if you're into Arnold Schwarzenegger, Maria Conchita Alonso, I mean, you cannot dislike this movie.
I agree. When was the last time you watched this? Can you remember when the last time?
Probably 20-ish years ago.
I would say probably me too. When we literally owned it on VHS, that's probably the last time I watched it. But I'm so glad. Honestly, I've been really, really much more happy going through watching these old movies because we know we enjoy them and we know we're going to have fun talking about them. And it seems like a lot more people are listening to the podcast with these older movies because we're all nostalgic. We all just love talking about it. So there's so many great things about The Running Man. Now, as I'm watching it, the first thing that comes to my mind is more nostalgia, like being young, being 8, 9, 10 years old, watching this. But as I'm older now, knowing a little bit about firearms and things like that, I just laugh same thing with Commando. You see firing from the hip every single time. Like there's literally no aiming. It's just from like the rifle is, if you're watching on YouTube, you go to watchandlearnpodcast.com/YouTube. You can see us, but they just lower it to their hip and it's just like this, and they're just flying it around. It's called spray and pray. And I guarantee you will literally not hit anything if you shoot like that, but they hit everybody. Everybody gets hit like this. And so nowadays I love movies like John Wick, which we have to do either John Wick or something like that. I mean, we have to make sure we cover those because those shooting skills are so amazing as opposed to this. Like this is just, and being a kid, I'm like, oh shoot, yeah, that's how they shoot guns. They just shoot it from the hip and that's how he hits everybody.
Yep, yep. And it's just it is funny to now. I think looking at it, especially like wide shots or something, those quick hip shots might look really cool cinematically is probably why they do it. But you can imagine they don't really have anybody on set giving them guidance into what actually could happen and what could in these old movies, at least. Like you mentioned, things like John Wick and Taken. Yeah, they rely heavily on actual tactics and what could work to make it more realistic, But this kind of movie back in the 80s and a lot of the stuff in the 90s that you were mentioning, they were just intent on just entertaining the audience, And it doesn't matter how realistic or unrealistic something was. Looked cool, let's do it. That was their modus operandi back then.
And I think on top of that, the audience is getting, I'm going to say getting smarter. They're just more akin to, they're like, oh, that's in the past. We've already seen that before. Let's see something new. And so movie producers, writers, actors, everybody realizing we got to up our game. Like every single time we got to up our game. That's how we can make sure we keep getting and watching movies. So let's jump right into your grade for The Running Man. What's your grade?
I give it an A. Solid A, really fun to watch, fun watching it again. All the death scenes are cool. You love seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger help his buddies out. You get a little bit sad when each of them dies throughout, You want to see Amber's character or Maria Conchita Alonso's character of Amber succeed and live through the end too. And so you're like emotionally invested in everybody because the interesting thing is Richards, he was wronged, right? He was trying to do the right thing at the Bakersfield massacre. He was the one going against orders, and all the other guys on the helicopter, they said, hey, our boss says shoot innocent civilians. We got to do it. Whoa. It puts you automatically on Richards' side from the start, and you want to see him succeed in the end. And I think that drive, like wanting to see him succeed, makes it so much more fun when he actually does in the end beat Killian. Oh, speaking of Killian, the guy's name is Damon Killian. Is there a more evil name than Damon Killian?
And he played
Two on the
perfectly.
nose, huh?
It absolutely is. Like, oh man, I just heard his name. I think he's probably a bad guy. That's what you should immediately be thinking. So I wanted to give this grade a little higher because of nostalgia before I watched it. But as I watched it, I'm not going to give it a B because of nostalgia's sake. I'm going to raise it up to an A minus. Now, the reason why it's an A minus, there's a couple lulls in the movie that I'm kind of like, kind of drives me down. When it's easy when he meets the girl and whatever her name, Maria Conchita Calaro, whatever it is. She, like, you have to hear that part. You have to see that part, but it just kind of, I don't know if they did it the best way. They could have done it better. I don't know. I'm not creative. I'm just saying that was a lull. A couple other little lulls that they could have done, but in all, it was really fun. Nostalgia takes great. And like you said, if you don't like 80s action movies, don't watch it. Like, it's just, this is not going to be like, my wife was in the room with me watching it, but she's like, why do you like this? I'm like, because it's awesome. I like it. Now, this is so interesting. This movie shows Richards in a helicopter with a food riot and things going on in Los Angeles. And the government's telling him, fire on him, kill him, there's rioting, blah, blah, blah. This was set, and if you watch the beginning, it says 2017, economies collapsed, blah, blah, blah. All this bad stuff is going on, and it's rioting, and this is what's going on. They were just 3 years too early. If they would have put 2020, they would have been perfectly right on. Just add 3 more years, it would have been perfect.
For sure, it would have been, and that kind of thing is always possible. What I found interesting too, thinking back to like the Colosseum and actual gladiators and stuff. That's offering these death matches is how they appease the audience when you have an not unruly or restless citizenry, right? That's what you do, and I guess in this future time they did it. Who knows? That kind of thing could happen nowadays. I kind of doubt it. All the social whatever. I don't know. I doubt it could happen, but it's very possible that we might see something like that in the future.
I like the way that you say it's possible, because I personally think it's naive yuppie people that say, in a democratic state or a country like ours, I doubt it'll ever. I don't think it'll ever happen. Like, you are so naive, or you're so stupid, or combination of everything, where you have no clue of history. Like, things change. It doesn't matter if you don't think it will. It possibly will. Like, what's that Murphy's Law? Whatever bad possibly could happen will happen, or something like that. Like, it possibly can, and I hope it doesn't. I hope when I'm 80 years old, when we are our dad's age, and I hope I don't look back and say, Sky, I remember when we had electricity and running water and toilets. Like, I remember that. Wasn't that the best?
And grocery stores.
Man, that was the life. I hope it doesn't get like that, but I'm not so naive to think that it can't happen. Just think of, no, we don't need to go on that. Let's go back to the movie. So yes, because I could keep going down this route, but what I'm thinking about is you have this movie and it depicts somebody in a negative light when it's not the truth. And what's interesting is now with not just social media, but like technology in general, it's so crazy what they can do to bend or change or deceive, visually and audibly. It's so crazy that this absolutely can happen. So a lot of things that they did in here, it was really interesting. Like you see the lady walk inside the house, Alexa, turn on the lights. Alexa, turn on the TV. And it's literally, it's the same. It didn't use Alexa, but it used the voice. And so I was like, this is pretty good. Now, do you know who wrote this book or movie?
Oh, the original book was Stephen King. Yes.
Yes. With his pen name, whatever his pen name was.
Richard Bachman.
Yeah. So that was really interesting that this is made into a movie, but I didn't read the book. Did you ever read the book?
I did. It was a short story. Might have been like 75, 80 pages or something. It ends totally differently than this. This is like a nice, fun Hollywood happy ending. The story much different. I won't say anything beyond that.
No, ruin it for me because I will not read it, but I want to know. Ruin it for me and everybody else. What is the ending like?
Okay, if you do not want it ruined, jump ahead 30 seconds. But for Dusty, in the very end, Richard, and I don't know if that was his name at all, but our running man escapes the labyrinth, gets in a plane, comes back and crashes the plane into the building, killing Killian and his staff. If I remember, something like that happens. The whole building crumbles. Everybody who promotes has something to do with the running man. I believe they all die. Now, that's not going to change the world or anything, but I think if I remember right, that's how the story ends. And I probably read it 20 years ago as well.
That's pretty fun.
I could be wrong about that, everybody.
Yeah. So it's definitely some differences. Okay. Now and I appreciate you letting me know because we're not going to read it, like I said, but I would like to know the differences. Now, what do you think about casting Arnold Schwarzenegger? Could they have done anybody else?
Oh, they could have done 100 other people, but I love Arnold in this movie.
Who would have been better? I guess the better question, who do you think would have been better, or is Arnold the best pick?
I think Arnold's the best pick for what was required. Big, strong dude, take out other big, strong dudes trying to kill him. I mean, I guess you could have done Sylvester Stallone or something, but all the other action movie stars at that time, nobody was as big and as buff as him. Lou Ferrigno, but Lou Ferrigno doesn't have the charisma that Arnold Schwarzenegger does, so Arnold's my pick.
I got one guy better. So remember last week we did Commando and Bennett, Dad Bod. He would have been phenomenal. Dad Bod would have took everybody. Oh, I'm just kidding. So everybody watching this, go back and listen to the Commando one where we picked apart the Dad Bod of the main bad guy, which is just rather weird. We have Arnold Schwarzenegger, complete stark difference between him but I personally think Arnold did a fantastic job, and he's just like the perfect guy perfect actor, perfect everything for it. So what would you say is your number one lesson that you learned from the movie?
My number one lesson is nobody likes a liar, right? As soon as Killian and the network were found out to be liars, the whole audience turns against them. And I guarantee everybody watching at home was totally happy when Arnold and his army of dudes came in, stormed, killed them all. Everyone was happy when they found out that he was pulling the wool over their heads. Price, Hillman and Haddad or whatever their names were dead this whole time, but they thought they lived and they were living on a beach on Maui. So lying, nobody likes a liar, I guess, is the end of the lesson.
I think that's a great point because everybody realizes that they've been lied to. Now, they're not going to realize everything, but they're going to realize some things. And definitely seeing the helicopter footage, like the raw footage, it's not just the TV show. They're not the ones that aired it. Everybody already knew about the butcher of Bakersfield from the media, from the government, from everywhere. They painted him as the bad guy. So they're not just questioning the game and the TV show. They're also questioning, I think now, what else is the government lying to me? Lying to us about? So it was really, really interesting seeing that. And you also see it with Maria. I think that's what her name was, but whatever her name is in the movie, when her character sees that the media is literally saying many people died and he shot people and all that sort of stuff. She's like, but that's not true. That's not what happened. And it's rather interesting that you're like, wow, what else can they be lying? And that she went down the rabbit hole. And so it's really interesting seeing that. And I don't know if our government or Facebook or Google or whoever is lying to us because we only get what we see. Unless we actually get shown what the truth is, it's hard to see who's lying. But I think you're absolutely right. Once you figure it out, you're like, I don't like being lied to. I hate that.
Yep. For sure. And you mentioned something earlier about how technology can really, help to hide things and stuff. This movie did a deep fake before deep fakes were ever talked about with Arnold Schwarzenegger fighting Captain Freedom and him dying. And then in the end, when you see Arnold again, it's absolutely true or absolutely not true what they were doing in the past. And so this movie brought about deep fakes before deep fakes were a thing, I think.
That is super interesting. And obviously, it seems like obviously the story coming from Stephen King, who is just a brilliant writer. I mean, just in general, story creation is just amazing. Really, really thoughtful or creative in his thinking. Perceiving that could happen. I'm like, wow, I'm obviously only being 8 years old. I never would have thought of that. But yeah, thinking of what the future could hold in the future, even just 20 years from now, what they can actually be doing, we have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
my first lesson is, and it came with, and there's a lot of lessons in here, but one that really stuck out to me was Buzzsaw. And so track with me. Buzzsaw's dead. He's lying on, or they think he's dead, or Arnold thinks he's dead. He's lying on the ground, and he goes over them. He's really hesitant, and he looks down. He sees Buzzsaw, and you don't know if he's dead or not. Pausing that, I remember there was The Simpsons. Always goes back to The Simpsons. There was a Simpsons episode where it was a Halloween episode, and Ned Flanders becomes, I think, a werewolf or a zombie or something like that. And Homer's driving. It's the middle of the night, and he runs over Ned Flanders. Ned Flanders, boom, he's on the ground. He's dead. What Homer does is what Arnold should have done, or what's his name? Richard should have done. He grabs a stick and pokes him like this. I'm going to get my scratcher. And pokes him in the eye. And keeps poking him in the eye. That's literally, like, when I go hunting and I step up on a deer, and after I shot a deer, harvested them, and they're on the ground, I let them expire, and then eventually die. I don't just walk up, hey, let me grab the antlers, because I've seen videos where they get up and they actually gore the person because they're not actually dead.
Oh, geez.
You come up from behind, not from where they can get up towards you. You come up from behind them, so they have to get up away from you. And then you get a stick and you poke them in the eye to make sure they're dead. If you poke them in the eye and they don't get up, they're probably dead. So that's a big lesson. Poke them in the eye.
For sure. That's a good lesson that we learned from the Zombieland movies, right? Double tap. Always do that. You got to make sure before you get too close and give them the chance to eat you,
Absolutely. So which one is your favorite kill out of all of them? Do you have a favorite kill?
I do. It's the SubZero death scene. I think it's because it was the very first scene where you see that they are in a life or death situation. These stalkers are out there to try to kill them. He has a hockey stick that has a blade, is able to cut through metal fences and stuff, right? The danger was there. His ultimate death was cool, being wrapped around his neck with the barbed wire. But then at the very end, you get the best line in the movie. Richard says, here is SubZero. Now, Plane Zero. Best line in the movie. And so that's why I love that scene.
And as they're walking away, they give each other a high five. I thought
that's right.
That was pretty good. My favorite line is from the old lady. And the very end, she goes, I pick Ben Richards. Oh, you can't pick Ben Richards. It has to be a stalker. I could pick whoever I want. I pick Ben Richards. He's one bad mother effer.
Yep,
so
that's
funny.
Good. I love that line. That was great in that movie. Speaking of choosing Ben Richards, my Monday morning quarterback is when she chose Ben Richards out in the gambling area. The dude says $100 on Richards, $100 on Richards, and they took it. And he wrote the odds 100 to 1. Okay, Ben Richards just got done killing 3 stalkers in a row. How is he not? How are the odds not 2 to 1 or 1.5 or 1 to 1?
1 to 1, yeah.
1.5 to 1. You bet $100. If you win, you get 50. This guy is so good. We're pretty sure he's going to kill the next. So 100 to 1 odds. I would bet almost my whole fortune on there.
Yeah, I'll put $1 down and win 100.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, that's great. I saw that. I was like, what? 100 to 1?
Exactly.
Do these writers or the director have no clue what betting actually is? Like, literally, you've never been around a racetrack. You've never seen anything. Like, that's just, but who knows? Maybe, because they were like, this is weird. I don't know. Should we do this? Should we? Oh, you want it? You got it. 100 to 1. Okay. I saw that same thing. I was dumbfounded.
If anybody bet on the next stalker and not Richards at 100 to 1, they're complete idiots, and you need to disown somebody like that as a friend or a family member even.
Yeah, I want to say my favorite death is going to be one that's a little different than like a stalker death. It was literally the head being blown up of Ricardo or whatever that dude's name was that was running when the fence
Oh,
line did not turn off. He just starts running. Yay! I'm out of here! And poof! It was like a cherry being just like squished. I thought that was pretty good, and the body just goes boom
yeah,
on the ground.
that is
I
cool.
thought that was pretty good.
His name was Chico, and I remember that because we had just watched Commando. Watching this, Chico was the guy in the Casa who said slitting a girl's throat is like a slicing warm butter with a knife, whatever his quote was, right? That's the exact same guy. And you've seen him in a ton of movies. If they ever need some kind of like Mexican extra in a movie who maybe has one or two speaking lines but does some action and stuff in the 80s, that was your go-to guy.
I didn't realize that, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Or like I recognize him now that you say that. That's fun.
Mhm.
So
But yeah, I
I
like
like
that death of Chico's.
Death of Chico. So
Mhm.
if you were to be the what is it, the mutilator, and you have a mace, what would your area be? Because my area would just be like a dust bowl with a cactus,
Mhm.
and they could jam them onto a cactus and stuff like that. And it's dust flying everywhere. Big coliseum with a bunch of dust. Where would yours be?
It would be a hall of mirrors like you see in James Bond movies and stuff. That's what it would be in.
Or
Yeah, but I have the
speaking of,
place memorized. I know what I'm doing. I look up. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how exactly it would work, but I know where they're at.
and I remember another one with Arnold Schwarzenegger was the Conan the Barbarian that had mirrors. Remember, if you were, he had to break all the mirrors, and it got the bad guy dying. So just wanted to
It
piece
did.
together mirrors. And Arnold, he's been
Yeah.
there before. He might kill you. So just
There have been a
he hit.
lot of movies with mirrors, right? Tango and Cash, we talked about that. At the end, there was a mirrors.
Yep,
James Bond movie. There's so many movies with mirrors in them. It's just one of those weird
John Wick.
set pieces.
Yeah,
Oh,
didn't
John
John
Wick.
Wick? It
It
was
was like in a weird
a
glass
glass.
room with TV screens, but same
Yeah,
kind of effect. It was pretty cool. Yeah. So that's one of those set pieces that you used to see a lot, maybe occasionally now.
wasn't it also in like Bruce Lee? I think it was a mirror one. That's the first one I remember seeing.
Enter the Dragon,
Dragon. Yeah,
I
yeah, that's
think.
cool.
Yep.
So cool.
Cool. What
Yeah.
is your Monday morning quarterback?
My Monday morning quarterback would be to not go after, like, contact your brother before you go and break into his house, or just go and show up to his house. I know that you might be thinking they might track, or listen to the phone calls or whatever it might be, but lie low. Like, don't do that. But then after that, why go to Hawaii? You're on an island. You can't go very far. That's just stupid. And you have to travel go to the mountains. Be like Matrix in Commando. Go in the
There you
mountains
go.
and stay far away where you can stay hidden. Nobody can find you, all that sort of stuff. That's what I would do.
For sure. For sure. But that scene gave me my prop from the movie. I want his travel outfit, Hawaiian shirt, glasses, hat, white pants as well. That's what I want for my prop.
So good. I don't know what I would. What's your Monday morning quarterback?
What was it? Oh, the 100 to 1 on Richards. That thing. It should have been 2 to 1, 1.5 to 1,
Oh,
whatever it was. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, that's what you meant by the Monday morning quarterback. Okay.
Mhm.
So my prop, I'm kind of torn between the two, but I would, because I really liked Dynaball. Or Dynamo. I like his shooting, but dude was just fat. Like, I just thought, who in the world would pick him as a
I thought the
stalker?
same thing. It would be a gigantic
Ugh.
prop in your house or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Whoever did this was just rather silly, but I liked Jim Brown. What's his Fireball? Is that his name? Was his name
Yeah.
Fireball? Yes, I
Mhm.
like his flying suit and his flamethrower. His
Mm.
flamethrower is a little weak, in my opinion. Like, if you look at real flamethrowers now, in fact, I want to say Elon Musk. Did you see that he was selling flamethrowers?
Yes.
Yeah,
$2,000 each.
yeah, and he called it something else. It was like, in order to be able to ship it, he called. Do you remember what he called it?
I can't remember what it was called, but yeah, it was a different name. And on the box, it said this is not a flamethrower, but it was a flamethrower.
It's so
Yep.
awesome. And so
Mhm.
that's the type of flamethrower that I'm thinking that Fireball had, but he should have had a better flamethrower that was like in the military. Like, those flamethrowers are amazing. If you see what they are actually throwing, it is so hot. It is so crazy. The Fireball is so much bigger. It's super
Yeah.
awesome. But yeah, so for me, it's the chainmail too, everything that Jim Brown had.
Good. I like that choice. But I thought of that too. But I think from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think my prop was that flamethrower. So I already have one in my prop room, in my
Got it.
Hollywood memorabilia room.
Got it.
Yep.
So
Cool. What is your second lesson?
So my second lesson, well, before I get to mine, I want to know what your second lesson is because it might be the same.
Oh, okay. Mine is, I don't know exactly how to word it, but being exasperating may help you get your way. So in the airport, when they were trying to go, he was digging through his bag, big line of people. My wife puts this, I can never find my stuff. And the guy says, just go, you're good. And that kind of thing happened to me once. I got pulled over on the freeway a few years ago, and my glove compartment sticks and I can't open it. Like the latch is broken. And he pulled me over, license and registration, please. I said, here's my license. Hold on a second. It's in here. I got to try to open it. And I showed him how it was unlocked, but the latch wouldn't open. And eventually he seemed like he got frustrated with me not being able to open. He goes, okay, just drive safely next time. And he let me go.
How can we use that to our advantage? That's a brilliant idea.
Be exasperating when you want something from somebody and they possibly have like power or authority to stop you from doing it. Find a way to be exasperating, like I said.
Exasperating, that's a good point. Or like make it trouble on them to wait for you to be patient. But that's so good. So
just like remember? You got pulled over in Japan for making a bad U-turn, but it's very possible because you're a foreigner, the cop didn't want the extra paperwork to have to deal with you, right?
So let me tell you that story. So I'm literally driving in Japan with my wife, my 4 kids, and our dad. So when you hear him on the podcast, that's our dad. So he was with us driving in Japan. I'm literally in Tokyo. Like this is Tokyo, downtown, busy, all that sort of stuff. And we're driving. I'm trying to figure out where to go. I'm literally driving on the left-hand side, the first time ever doing it. And I was like, man, I need to turn around. I think I could turn around. And it's literally a 4-lane, huge, these are skyscrapers all around us, 4 lanes on each side. And so I'm like, you know what? I should be able to turn around. And I turn around and apparently it was a no U-turn. And as I'm going, there's nobody in the lane that I just turned into. There was nobody in there. But the lane that I was in was heavily packed. I turn around and as I'm driving literally 100 feet from where I turned around, a cop, walking on his, like not in a car, not in a motorcycle or anything. A cop just starts walking out in the middle of the street with his baton and like his whistle and kind of waving me like, go, blowing a whistle and flagging me to go over side. So I'm like, oh man, well, I could literally just drive around him, but oh well, I better do what's right. I pull over. And as I'm pulling over, he starts speaking in Japanese. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying, dude. But, so basically I said, he's probably looking for my license. So I give him my American license. He's all grim-faced, like all upset. Bill, from the very beginning, not just the license, but from the very beginning, he was like, I'm hard-nosed on this guy. He shouldn't have done this. He saw my license. He's like, oh, I don't understand what this means. And then, because it was still angry, as soon as I whipped out my international driver's license, he went from like, if you're watching this on YouTube, he's like, to like, oh, hi. And he was like, he wasn't speaking English, but he was like, oh, blah, blah. And he was so different, so different in personality, like stark difference. And then he's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. He's speaking in Japanese, but basically says, go ahead. And he gives us back and says, go. And like kind of waves us on. And I leave. And I'm like, good. Yeah, that's good news. Because more than likely, how are they ever going to, track me down and all that sort of stuff? So long story short, that was good. It exasperated him.
For sure. That's nice. Yep.
So my second lesson is don't be a tool. Tool is not the right word. A dick or a jerk. Like Killian, like he lives up to his name. Like he is such a jerk, but he's also, you should not be this, two-faced. Like he'll tell you right to your face, oh, you're the best person in the world. I love you. I'm not going to kill you. You're going to be with me forever. Walks away 2 seconds later, kill that guy. Like he's literally two-faced and he's the worst. I personally hate hypocrites. I just can't stand hypocrites who say one thing to you, but then go and do the opposite or do what they tell you not to do. So do not be like Killian and don't have a bad name like that. If you have a bad name like that, just go ahead and change it right now.
That's right. Yeah, he kind of reminded me as soon as I realized or was watching the movie again, I realized, oh, that's kind of like what they say about Ellen DeGeneres. You know, I don't know from experience, but everybody talks about her being the same kind of person as Killian there.
And she's definitely canceled. Like her show is literally canceled now because of how horrible she actually
Yeah.
is. And stories are
Yeah.
actually coming out. People were being quiet about it because they don't want to lose their job and all that sort of stuff. But now it's pretty bad. But yeah, so don't be like Ellen. Don't be like Killian.
Yep, for sure. One other thing, I love how 80s movies often end with a rock and roll music as your heroes are leaving and then the credits start rolling and stuff. But this was a really weird kind of rock and roll ending. It was kind of like a love rock and roll ending. No more lonely nights, but I didn't get like a love vibe between Richards and Amber. It was more like, you know, she was on his side and let's do this together, but not like let's be together. It was a really weird vibe at the end. I love the fact that they played an awesome rock and roll song. It didn't fit with the story though. Gladiators killing each other and stuff, you know?
I definitely agree. It was a fun tune and everything as you're listening to it. One I really liked was Commando from last week. That was a really good. I can't remember, like somehow, some way. I mean, it was really good. And then this one, it was like, but it fit on. But yeah, these 80 movies are so much fun. So much fun to watch.
For sure.
I'm really got now. The next movie we were supposed to do Terminator, which we will. But what is coming out this Friday, Sky?
Bill and Ted's
Face
I can't
the
remember
Music.
the name. Number 3. Face the music. There you go. Thank you.
Bill and Ted's number 3. Now, I know a lot of movie theaters are still closed, and so it's coming out online, which is super awesome. And I went ahead and got the if you buy pre-release, you actually get extra bonuses, so we'll get that as well. But we're gonna record Bill and Ted's, and I'm really super looking forward to it. And I have not seen any trailers for it, so I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Yep. I haven't seen trailers. I've just seen a movie poster or like screenshots, and you could see that Keanu Reeves doesn't have his beard that he's been having for the longest time with his John Wick movie. So it might be kind of a weird change of pace seeing a clean shaven Keanu Reeves, you know?
Absolutely, and I think Keanu is just from the beginning when you first see him in Bill and Ted's to now, and all the movies seen throughout him, he's such a versatile actor. I mean, I've been really impressed with his acting chops, so I can't wait to watch him, and I don't remember the other guy's name, but I'm super looking forward to it. Alex Winters. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, so am I. Good choice for next week. So everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you liked hearing our Monday morning quarterback, our life lessons, all that jazz, we want to hear from you. So go to the show notes page, watchandlearnpodcast.com/therrunningman, just one word, The Running Man, and leave a comment at the bottom. Alrighty, once again, my name was Sky.
And I'm Dusty.
And we will return next week with
Bill and Ted's Face the Music.